I'd like to call the meeting of the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust for Thursday, March 20th, 2025, at 4:01 p.m. Call to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Beverly
Cindy
Napier, here.
Cindy Boundy here.
Veronica Kell here. And we also have present Kieran Meehan. So Kieran, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm the new, latest, and I won't say greatest yet, housing and grants administrator for you guys here in Townsend. Looking forward to working with you. Come from a little bit of background in Dunstable, do some things over there and do some affordable housing projects for them, and looking forward to helping you guys in any way I can.
Thank you.
Great, glad to have you.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. We love
Cheers.
having support in the office. So
It takes a village.
I'm going to run the meeting today. For additions and deletions, we didn't. Dave is our vice chair, and he isn't able to be with us today. So we are going. We do need to redo officers for the trust, but we'll do that at our next meeting. So if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to go ahead and run it. From now on, though, it'll probably be Kieran who does that, and he'll be working with our agendas and all of that, making our phone calls and keeping track of things for us. So.
Yep, I've got minutes going right now, so happy to share those for the next meeting and go around. So.
Okay. So I have no additions and deletions. I have no minutes for the February 10th meeting. So we will bring those to our next meeting. As far as, does anybody else have anything else to add beyond what was on the agenda?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go down to 2.1, the forest cutting plan. You guys all saw the email stream. I hope if you haven't, look in your email. Chris Capone from DCR went out to the properties and just to confirm the forestry plan on the ground. Since it was last week, there were a few wet places that he thought should be marked on the forestry map. So he was going to contact John Clark, who wrote the forestry plan, and have him make a few updates. It'll go back to DCR for approval, and then he'll get them the stamped plan to Town Hall and also to the Conservation Commission. They just get it sent to them as a courtesy, pretty much. So Kieran, keep your eye out for that.
Will do.
Thank you. That's all on that, unless somebody has something else on that. All right. The next thing is the inclusionary zoning bylaw. I hope everybody had a chance to review that. Erin had taken it forward to the planning board at the end of February, just before she moved on to her new position. And the planning board was seriously considering it and holding a hearing on April 7th, which is really why we're having this, because we needed to review the bylaw. And I don't know what do you guys think about the bylaw? Did you get a chance to review?
I took a quick look, but I think we should wait. Do you think we should wait on this?
I think we should.
I just think we need a little more time. I think we need a little more, that whole thing.
Yeah, I think we do.
I tend to agree.
Okay. So what I would like then is a motion to put this on the, to not put this, I don't know which way, Kieran, what do you think is best? Should I say motion to put it on the ATM warrant for May 2025, or motion not to put it on the warrant for?
It could be motion to not place onto the May 2025 town meeting. And I think it'd almost be take no action on it, because we're just, it just sort of feels like we're not ready for prime time, if you will. for this, just because it needs to be kind of baked out a little bit more.
I agree.
Thank you for that. Yep.
So is there a motion?
Okay. Okay, I make a motion that we, okay, now I forget what you said.
Yeah.
But we
So
don't, not
yeah,
put it on the warrant
correct.
for April, May 2025.
Is there a
Because we,
second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? I will say that I think we need to work on this bylaw a little more before it's.
Indeed.
I agree with Kieran, not
It
ready
needs
for
work.
crime.
Yep.
So, all right, roll call vote, please. How do you vote on the motion?
Cindy Boundy votes yay on the motion. Is that-
Beverly Napier. Yay, aye, whatever.
And Veronica Cal, aye. All right, any opposed? Hearing none. The motion passes. This will not be on the ATM warrant. So Kieran, if you could just let Beth know that that was the vote, and we'll have Adam look at it for review after we've had another chance to discuss.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to the MHP report, the concept. So hello, Laura. I'm going to want to screen share. I wanted to put the concept up here, and we had a couple questions for you. Would
Sure.
that work?
Yep.
All right. So share. Here we go. Okay. Give me just a second to get this rolling.
Sure.
Hi, Laura. I'll just say hi. I'm the new housing and grants person for Townsend. So nice to meet you
Hi,
virtually.
Karen. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, kill some time for Veronica, you know.
I had to send a request for screen sharing. I hit share, and it said sharing is not turned on. The host isn't allowing multiple presenter sharing for this meeting. So I don't know what this is about. So I'm not sharing the concept, but you've all
Who's
seen.
the host?
I'll activate that for you now, Veronica. We're having some technical issues here.
Okay, thank you. So in the meantime, Laura, I just wanted to say thank you so much for getting the concept plan to us. We were excited to get it. And we have some questions. Mostly, I mean, we can look at the concept. I want to show this up so that people in the audience can just see it. So let me just put that, talk to that, and then come back to questions. This is the concept that Bowler Engineering did through the help of the technical assistance grant that Mass Housing Partnership provided us with. This is on our 7 acres at the corner of West Elm and Blood Road. And the concept has, you can see 10 units in each of those buildings. I am assuming there are 2 3-bedroom townhouses, and connected kind of in between. Each of the buildings has an apartment. 5 of the buildings have 1-bedroom apartments, and 5 of the buildings have 2-bedroom apartments. So does that sound about right to you, Laura?
Yes. I think that's what it says in the legend. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, up here on the concept plan notes.
You
So
can share now, Veronica.
Pardon me?
You can
Wasn't
share
I
now.
sharing? Okay, let me pop this up. Here I am, I'm looking at it, thinking it's shared, and it's not. So, so there is the plan.
All right.
Everybody can see, and the 10 buildings. So the entryway is off of West Elm, comes in here. We've got the cul-de-sac and the buildings along and around it. And there's a really nice feature in this concept is this walking path back here. Along the woods. So because the property is wooded, so everything outside of this bound is wooded. The purple area is possible septic, and I think this green is the stormwater area. So so that is the concept that we have for an affordable possible affordable development here in Townsend. So anybody else want to make any comment before I go to Laura?
No, I think it looks good.
We good? All right, so I guess my question is, what is the next step with Mass Housing Partnership? What does the technical assistance grant that we have provide us with going forward? That's my question, and I'm going to stop the share, if that's okay with everybody,
Yes.
if I can figure out how to do it. Stop share. Okay, so thank you.
So, I can't, so this is owned by the trust, the land, correct?
Correct, yes.
So, we would assist in helping you create a request for proposals for a developer to come in and actually build and own and manage the property, depending on, I guess it depends on whether you want rental or ownership, and I can't remember. Right now, there's not any subsidies for home ownership. So it would be difficult to fund it without doing only 25% affordable and the rest market. For subsidies for rental, this would qualify under the low-income housing tax credit program. And that's the major source of funding for affordable rental housing. You have to have a certain certain number to make it work. Typically, that's in like the 32 range. So this certainly meets that. It would be attractive for developers at 40. And, so I'd work with you to, first do a draft request for proposals, kind of go through a list of questions, preliminary list of questions that I have, that typically at this stage you can answer. You may be able to answer most of them and maybe not all of them, probably not all of them, but then we'd work through that to get a request for proposals that is then released through the Secretary of the Commonwealth Central Register and advertised. And then I let developers, affordable housing developers, be aware of the release. And then they come back with proposals that have preliminary building design, a site design, and financials, pro formas to say what they expect the development budget to be, how they expect to make it work with subsidies. So that's, and then in the request for proposals, there's a scoring criteria. So then you would score the project, and then either sell the property to the developer or lease it to them on a long-term lease. That's how the process happens. The first thing that you would have to do before you release the request for proposals, the board would have to vote to dispose of the land or make the land available for disposition, as the language that's usually used in the vote.
Can you make that contingent upon the type of approvals that you were looking for? Like, so say because you can put it out as an RFP and it could be for rentals or it could be for ownership. It can be two different paths, right? Based on what the response level you get from different developers.
Typically in the request for proposals, you ask for what you're looking for. So if you're looking for home ownership, you put that in. If you're looking for rental, you put rent. It's defined. You wouldn't be able to score if you had either or. It would be difficult to score it. And developers wouldn't, you kind of have to have a preference.
So you couldn't do two RFPs, one for ownership and one for rental. You
No
have to
one would,
make a
res-
decision.
no one
ahead
would
of
respond
time?
to it. No one would respond to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it costs, just so you know, to put the proposals together costs a developer around $30,000.
Oh, wow.
So they have to be pretty sure, you have to be pretty sure of what you want, and they have to be able to interpret that. So if you had two RFPs for the same piece of land, they're gonna say, you know, "No, that we don't have enough
Okay.
to
Um,
spend."
You know, I have to say that I don't see what you were just telling me, and maybe I don't get it. The path to success here for us for providing affordable housing. It has to be in clear language, and it has to be something that we can achieve. And maybe
I
I'm
don't-
dense. I don't know, but I'm not hearing it.
So you don't understand what the request for proposal results in?
Well, I do understand it, but it seems so convoluted to me.
What would be your chosen path?
Again, I'm not quite sure.
So let me back up a few steps.
All right.
You are a public entity as a trust. The
Okay.
public entity is subject to Chapter 30B of Mass General Laws, which is the procurement laws in the state. In order to dispose of public land, there's a process. You can either sell it to the highest bidder, or you
Right.
can do a request for proposals where you put parameters around and restrictions on what happens to the land, what gets built on the land. That's the parameters that you have. You can't go out and talk to a developer and say, hey, you want to have my land? You want to take this land? You have to do it on an open and fair basis. And you do that
Okay.
through a request for proposals. So that's, I think we talked about this at our first meeting. That's the way that public land has to be disposed of. And so there are, there's parameters, and there's also like kind of fine lines on what you can and can't control. You can't be too prescriptive in the RFP, but you can be prescriptive enough to get to be able to score and be able to get the kind of development that you're looking for.
Mhm.
Okay, can I ask a question? Just so I have this in my head. So we have the land, we have the concept. You will help us with the RFP,
Yes.
right? You will help us write it. To write the RFP, we have to decide what the disposition of the land will be. So within that RFP, we could say, and I'm just throwing this out, I'm not saying this is what, but we could say, you know what, we would like a developer who we could lease the land to for 99 years. And they will come in and build this concept, and they will manage the property for us. And like, those are all things that we can put in the RFP, right?
Yes.
And then put it out there and see who responds and who responds with what. So that's what our responsibility is, right? Is to figure out what we want and how we want it done and put that in the RFP, which you will help us write, right? And or write for us and then go from there. Do I have that right?
That's right. And my job besides writing the RFP is to make sure that you stay within the guardrails of the law.
Of the law, because we're a public.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And if the request for proposal is too specific, even to the point with saying we want it to look exactly like this concept, you can't say that. We can put the concept as an attachment, but we also want to let developers and architects be creative and not let them be locked into this one concept that a engineer did. Not to denigrate engineers, but they have a certain
Yeah.
way of looking at things, as architects can be a little bit more out of the box. So, that's kind of my job, to make sure that you stay within in the parameters, that there's not any bid protests because we did something, we put something in that we shouldn't have. And that's how it happens. I think it probably would be helpful for all of you. I have examples of both RFPs that I've written and then the resulting proposals. So I can send those along so that you can see the RFP and then what has been sent in. And I won't send the proposals are huge, but I'll send the building plans or the site plans, usually ask for a rendering, because some people, me included, aren't real good at visualizing a 2D to a 3D.
Yeah.
So I have those, and I can send a couple of those along, and it might be helpful to see those, to say, okay, this is what they asked for, this is what they got, and this is the one that they like the best. And that's going to be, really individual, preferences on who, what they like best. But I think it's helpful to see that.
Yeah, that would be great to see that. That would be great.
Yeah, and they're all around the same size. It's a typical size for public land disposition, especially in areas that don't have sewer, because it's under 90 bedrooms, or this one isn't under 90 bedrooms, but 40 units is usually under 90 bedrooms. So, and that's a Title V.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for that.
we have,
Yes,
Think that will be helpful.
indeed.
Yeah. Laura, if you want to share those with me, I can disseminate it out to the rest of the group.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you'll see that they're different, especially different areas of the state kind of have different preferences for style of buildings.
So my question is, so we have the disposition of the land to decide whether we're rental or ownership. There's, the draft RFP thing. When and how do we take this out to the community to say, hey, look, we're thinking about this. This is a project that we need to do that at some point, because we haven't, other than through these meetings and the little report I did a month ago or so to the select board. So, do you have any guidance on that you could send along that we could look at and then go forward with?
Yeah, we usually suggest that you get a couple of answers first amongst yourselves before you take it. If you take it out too soon, you're just fielding what every individual wants. So if you come in saying, look, we've done this engineering, we know we can do 40 units fits on this site, or we're at a maximum of 40, whatever you want to say. I try and say maximum, even though that usually goes into the RFP that way, a maximum of X amount of units. And, we know that the town has very little rental housing. We'd like to, encourage young people. I'm just making this up, but, and we want to encourage young people to come to town. And to do that, we think that we need some starter homes, and we also need some places for people to retire comfortably in the same community that they've been living in. Those are, kind of the things, and then you just invite a community meeting.
I think it's sort of like the inclusionary bylaw that we're kicking around. And I think it's make sure we have it fully baked, and it's the cake we want to present before we bring it out for the public to try a piece.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be before the RFP goes out?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Because the RFP is a legal
Once
document
we
that
know,
you're going to
once
get.
we're done. Yeah,
You want to also, um, you might have everything and yet you don't want to have everything locked down because you want to be able to listen to comments and, you know, if there's something that's, you know, oh, that concept looks like it's too close to my house or something like that. And then you can we can, you know, move it over a little bit or, oh, we'd really like to have this much buffer around the whole thing. That's fine. I'll tell you, I'm not a fan of putting requirements to have a fence around the whole thing because that to me is just isolating. It happens.
Indeed.
Um,
Yep.
and
It really wouldn't fit here. That would look really kind of funny in Townsend.
Yeah, it would.
especially in the woods, you know,
Right.
Indeed.
this has a lot of screening, natural screening, which is the best kind anyway. So, so I think for me, I need to get you what I call my beginning memo for the start of an RFP. And it has, like I said, it has a lot of questions that some you're not going to be able to answer and some you may not know what the, you know, what the options are. But I'll get it out to you and I'll get the RFPs and a couple of RFPs and the resulting proposals out to you. And then the next time we meet, we'll go over the questions and then I can do a first draft of the RFP.
Okay, so does MHP have like a process document? Like this is what MHP will provide for us going forward? Like I don't know. Just
I can-
what the, you know, like
I can do a scope of services that
yes,
you
that might,
provide, if that's
yeah,
helpful.
that would
I'm
be
not
helpful.
sure your award letter, I'm not sure what it said. I think it just said pre-development and creation of an RFP.
Technical assistance, I think it was, right? Just sort of
Mhm.
blahs.
Yeah, it was
All
pretty,
encompassing.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that was because we were looking at several parcels
yes.
and
Yeah.
I didn't do an updated one with just looking at this parcel.
Yeah, okay.
We can do that.
Oh, Laura,
If you wanted any edits, the concepts aren't in final form yet. So if there's anything that you would prefer moved around or
on the concept, the
on the
bullet,
concept, yeah. Oh, we
Oh.
could wait and do it later, but
let us talk before we
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
because we did have a couple comments around the laundry room and all that, but not for
Yeah.
today. Let's talk about that in another meeting after we get a chance to get together.
Okay, I
Yes.
will tell you that you can, especially since these are family units, or a lot of them are family units, that you can require or make it a higher scoring higher for them to have in unit laundry.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have to have in-unit laundry. You know what else too? Are there basements? There were basements on this, right?
That's I did
Oh,
not.
that's something else that's not, okay,
It-
okay.
You can require basements. Sometimes that's best for for storage for each.
Yeah,
Apartment has their own little cages in the basement. But I will tell you that if you do have storage in the basements of each building, they have to be sprinkled. So
Mm.
it does add cost.
cost, yeah.
But you do
Interesting.
want to have some storage. Sometimes you just put that there needs to be storage, and sometimes they put them in sheds instead of in
It's easier.
basements. But that's all details.
Okay,
When we get to the scoring criteria, we'll suss that out.
okay.
Okay, so Laura, you'll send to Kieran the scope of services, the questions that we can look through, and the the sample RFPs and their resulting responses?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
yes.
And then Kieran will get them out to us. So,
Yeah.
great.
And if any other projects, I think I can pull up some of the projects that are already built, and then you can maybe see what, besides just a rendering, I have pictures of some of them.
All right. That
Okay.
sounds good.
All right.
Thank you
Can
so
I
much
ask-
for joining with us. Oh, do you have another question?
I just have one question because we've been working on these things and it's like the slowest moving wheel. But so can I just I know we have a lot of work to do. We've got to figure out, what we want. But how far ahead do you see yourself helping us with an RFP once we come to the are you totally booked? Are you booked out for the next 6 months? Or if we call you, in a month and say, hey, you know what? We did our meeting and we've made a plan and this is what we'd like. Are you ready now to help with an RFP? Is that, I don't know what your schedule
Yeah,
is
I
like.
mean-
I don't know what your schedule is like.
I actually, since we've been meeting, which has been a long time, I'm not semi-retired. I've taken the first step towards retirement, so I'm working 3 days a week. But all I'm doing is this work. All I'm doing is helping communities and housing authorities with disposing of public land and redeveloping public housing. So all my other supervision and everything else, I stepped down from my director position. So
Okay,
so
that's good for
all
us.
I'm doing is this. So this is this type of work, and I have a number of projects, but not overwhelming.
Okay, all right. Okay, good to know. Thank you. I hope that wasn't an offensive question. I was just trying to get a sense of where.
Thank you for asking that, Cindy. Good question.
I know.
And I'll
That's,
tell you, there's I don't want to rush this because you're going to have a public process. You're going to have to do whatever. There are kind of sweet spots for when you should release an RFP. The state has one funding round a year, and that starts usually in about November. And then it's the applications are due, they have pre-applications that are due in December or January, and then the full app. Then if people get asked to do a full application, they have to get it in by February. So if that whole time frame, developers are just working on their current project, and so they typically don't respond. They typically don't respond to requests for proposals in that time.
So November through February.
November to February.
Okay.
So this is, timing is you want to get it in you want to get the request for proposals out by August, or you kind of have to wait to the next spring, October, September, late, that's kind of, so I don't want to say, oh, we have to do it we have to do it by August, but it seems like we have enough time to get it out August, early September. That's anticipating that the public process is smooth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, smoothish. Let's put it that way.
No, wait.
All right.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, we can. Thank
No,
you, Laura.
Thank you very much.
And we'll
Thank
look
you.
for,
Thank you, Laura.
looking for input. For the
I'll
email.
get it out.
Indeed.
All right. Thank you very much for
Yeah,
joining.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Oh.
So should we consider hiring, Kieran, you can maybe help advise on this. Consider hiring a consultant or a land use attorney to help us with the disposition of property and with what we want to do in addition to the technical assistance grant?
I would probably always ask for a second opinion is sort of where my gut goes on most things in life. Um, and having done this very same process in Dunstable, we did that. We had NIMCOG give us an intake, and then we had JM Goldson come as well. And we ended up going with the private JM Goldson group to walk us through the process. The main reason being efficiency of time and having an eye on the ball and not sort of getting stuck in troughs and getting into sort of time waste, if you will.
Yeah.
So can we have a motion to have our housing administrator explore possible companies to provide consulting services for the disposition of property and the RFP process to kind of just keep it checked and balanced with what MHP is providing us so that the process keeps moving forward.
Okay.
The motion would read grant the housing and grant administrator authority to seek other technical assistance programs.
Okay.
You could also just say so moved.
Okay.
Yeah, you could say so moved. Second, go. Yeah.
Okay.
Did I hear that?
Yeah. So I'll second it. Or did we already do it? I don't have to.
Who said so moved? Who made the motion? Who made the motion?
I made the motion. I'll make the motion if you want. I make the motion to do what he said.
Okay, to have the housing administrator
Second.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just
now you're getting it.
Yes, I make a motion that we have Karen look into, look into hiring other land consultants to help with the disposition of the land in the RFP. To just have some additional help with that moving forward.
All right. And Beverly seconded.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All right. So starting with Beverly, roll call vote, please.
Beverly Napier, aye.
Cindy Boundy, aye.
Veronica Kell, aye. And any negatives? All right. Hearing none, motion passes. All right. Next thing to talk about is 34 Haynes Road. This is the encroachment on our property. We need to get back together with that. I know it was David, me, and Adam. What I'd like to do, Adam has office hours on Tuesday. So what I would like to do is talk to him about a possible time to get together with us, and we'll go and then I'll get back to the rest of you or to Kieran with with whatever he says. Sound good?
Yes.
Because that kind of dropped in February with the changeover of positions for Aaron. So, all right. So we'll just do that. I don't think we need a motion for that. That's just next steps. There was correspondence regarding the Blood Road property. Was everybody able to get a hold of that?
Okay.
And what I'd like to do is, I don't know, best thing to do with that would be probably to send our thoughts to Kieran and then maybe put it on putting everything on you on your first day.
Bring it on.
If you could get your thoughts on that to Kieran, and then we'll see if we need a discussion on the next meeting. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Our next meeting right now is scheduled for May. And I think what I'd like to do is perhaps do one in April, but we'll see how time is going. We'll see when we get things from back from Laura and all that. We might want a meeting towards the end of April.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so we can start to move on this because if she was saying, if the sweet spot is like August, that's not that much
That's
time.
not a lot of
People go on
time, is it?
vacation. I know, so yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else?
Just on the RFP front, it usually takes a couple iterations before you actually get a good response. So though she may be saying August, and there's a world that you could compound one together and get it out in time, it's not a bad practice to go through that cycle, and then get responses from developers and then do it again. Because it usually takes a few tries to get an actual good response. It took Dunstable almost a decade to finally get somebody to hit on one. So it takes a little bit of work. And Carol Bacon in that group could really, articulate the nuances of dealing with developers, but it takes a few, cracks at the old, bat before you hit a home run. So,
Okay.
Huh.
and it does take some
Oh.
work, and that's sort of what I'm happy to help with in any way I can. So,
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's, I think too, hiring land use, like what we just made the motion on, a land consultant is helpful too. Don't you think that will just kind of give us a little more people that are in the business doing this regularly,
Right.
so,
Right.
okay.
All right. With that, I have nothing else. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I
I-
make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
At 4:43 p.m.
I second that motion.
All those in favor, roll call vote, please.
Beverly Napier, aye.
Cindy Boundy, aye.
And Veronica Cal, aye. So thank you all. Stay tuned for an April date.